Okay, thank you, sir.
ಸರ್ ಬಂತು ಈಗ.
Okay, thank you, sir.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಸರಿ, ರಾಸಿತ್ತು ಮೊದಲಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡಿ. ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಡಿಬಲ್? ಮೇಡಮ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Sir, audible, sir, audible.
Yes, sir.
The topic of this session is academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
There has been emphasis on improving the originality of research. Of this session is academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
There has been emphasis on improving the originality of research. There has been emphasis on improving the originality of research. Of this session is academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism.
Yes, sir.
Teachers and researchers on improving the originality of research. There has been emphasis on improving. Any disturbance is there?
Yes, sir.
Sir, echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ sir. Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ sir. Disturbance is there?
Yes, sir.
Nageshwar, mute ಮಾಡಿ. Nageshwar, mute ಮಾಡಿ.
Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ sir. Echo ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
One minute, participants.
Yes, sir.
Nageshwar, mute.
Now, sir.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಓಕೆನಾ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಈಗ?
ಹೌದು. ಎಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇದೆ.
Teachers and researchers are expected to publish research papers from time to time. When you contribute research paper to journals, Invariably, it has to be in a journal carrying international standard serial number. Otherwise, the publication will not be considered for academic score. ISSN numbered journal is a must. Similarly, if you publish book, that book should carry international standard book number. Book number is a must. This number is going to be given by Rajaram Mohan Rai, National Agency for ISBN. It is a department attached to Ministry of HRD. It's a free of service. The service is free of cost. Next one is refereed journal. You are expected to publish research papers in refereed journal. Sometimes the chairman board of studies will be, board of selection will be, board of appointment will be asking you how many of your articles are published in refereed journals or peer-reviewed journals. There will be referees who go through your article. They may suggest you to revise the concluding part, or they may suggest you to update the statistical part, or they may ask you to render citations and bibliography in a definite format. Further, the sole authorship is a must. The recent trend is they may ask you in how many articles you are there as first author. If you are there as second author, if you are there as third author, that will not be considered as important. How many articles you have written as sole authorship? Alone, how many articles you have written? Or you tell me in how many articles you are there as first author. That is going to be considered. Next is the quality of the journal in which you are publishing your article is determined based on its impact factor. Impact factor. How do you calculate impact factor? Total number of references appeared in various journals taken from a particular journal. For example, Talenta is a journal in the field of chemistry. How many references have appeared in various chemistry journals taken from this particular Talenta over a period of 2 years? Total number of references divided by total number of articles published in that journal over a period of 2 years gives rise to the impact factor. Impact factor speaks about the quality of the journal. The quality is determined based on the extent of use. Further, H-index. H-index determines the performance of institutions. There is H-index for individual university, H-index for individual department, H-index for individual faculty members. Say, for example, H-index of Mysore University is 100. That is to say, 100 research articles of Mysore University carry 100 citations. That is to say, each of these 100 articles carry minimum of 100 citations. If you say that your H-index is 40, you might have published 300 articles, but out of 300, 40 articles carry minimum of 40 citations. Each of these 40 articles, there are minimum 40 citing authors, 40 and more than 40 citing authors. There lies the quality. To cite another example, there is a professor in the field of chemistry from Central University of Hyderabad. He has published nearly 260 papers, research papers over the past 40-45 years. Each articles carry 110 citing authors. There lies the quality. For every article of his publication, there are 110 citing authors. 110 authors are citing his publications. There lies the quality. Quality is determined based on the extent of use. Then all these are citation metrics, quantitative performance. What about quality in the article? Altmetrics is a software which collects the comments on the research article. Most of these comments are qualitative ones. Therefore, H-index and altmetrics together will tell you the quality of the research articles published by faculty members and researchers. Finally, the percentage of similar content is also taken into consideration to determine the research performance. For higher the percentage of similar content, lower is the quality of research paper. Lower the percentage of similar content, higher is the quality of research papers. I will come to that similar content in the next. UGC and Government of India has come out with a Gazette notification in the year 2018 stating that academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism is the title of that Gazette notification. So what is intellectual, what is academic integrity? It's nothing but intellectual honesty. Honesty and sincerity in proposing research. Proposing means you will be submitting research proposal, synopsis, etc. One should be sincere and honest. Then performing means you will be collecting data, you will be going for field work, you will be collecting references, everything. Recording observation, one should be sincere and honest. Then reporting, while drafting the thesis, while writing the research report, while writing the doctoral thesis, one should be sincere and precise. So any activity which leads to the creation of intellectual property is treated as academic integrity. Now, there are certain idioms and phrases which come under research misconduct. What are they? Cut corners. Cut corners, resubmission with minor alteration amounts to self-plagiarism. Suppose one of my friends will approach me tomorrow and he says, if any of your article is ready with you, please give it to us. We will see that it is published in the conference volume. In that case, what I do, I will slightly alter the title of the research paper. First paragraph, I will thoroughly rewrite the first paragraph. Here and there, I will exclude some of the sentences. I will thoroughly rewrite the concluding part and submit the same for publication. Again and again, multiple submission. This amounts to rehash. Cut corners here and there and submit the same for publication. This amounts to self-plagiarism. You already published 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and again you are publishing it for the second time, third time. Salami slicing refers to knowingly splitting the result to maximize the number of publications. I have taken up a research project on use of newspapers and magazines in libraries. One title, one broad objective or hypothesis. So you are going to give response to my questions. So ultimately what I'm going to do, I will be publishing 4 articles. Use of Kannada newspapers in libraries, use of sports magazines in libraries, use of Hindi newspapers in libraries, use of English magazines in libraries. Had I told you that I would be publishing 4 articles, probably your responses would have been different. But while collecting the data, I have projected one broad objective, but ultimately I published 4 papers, splitting the data, splitting the responses. This has to be avoided. Fabrication refers to inventing data, imaginary, cooked up data, false data. Many a time we do 19% here, 20% here, 23% here, remaining 32% here, all put together, it becomes 100%. Imaginary. You have not collected through questionnaire or interview. Just imagining and putting the data. Falsification refers to misrepresenting the data. For example, 49% of the students are regularly attending the class. I am going to interpret that one as large majority of the students are regularly attending the class. 49% is not the large majority. It is even less than half of the population. This is misinterpretation, misrepresentation. Even while drawing the bar diagram, there is not much difference between bar A and bar B. But while referring to the data, there is a lot of difference, misrepresenting the data. Authorship abuse refers to having obtained authorship on a paper despite having done little to deserve it. I am from the field of information science, library science. I am there as the second author in the research paper of a chemistry paper. The first author is a researcher in the discipline of chemistry. I am there as the second author. People will wonder how come this library science man is there in the research article of chemistry. This has to be avoided. All these are misconduct. Publication misconduct, ghost authorship. The real author is not revealed at all. He is writing on behalf of somebody. Second one is gift authorship. For having obtained some favor, I am going to include my friend as the first author. Sold authorship. We have come across so many academicians in Delhi who write research thesis for money. That is sold authorship. Disputed authorship is from a different field, but his name is there in the research article of a particular discipline who doesn't belong to that discipline. Then finally, plagiarized content. Borrowing the ideas without citation. What is plagiarism? Borrowing the ideas of others and presenting them as if they are my ideas without citing the source or without giving credit to the author is plagiarism. This amounts to literary theft. Predatory conferences and predatory seminars. Many a time we come across people organizing conferences and seminars. They will be inviting you to be there as a director of the conference, chairman of a session, rapporteur of a session, then as a chief editor, as assistant editor. They will be collecting money and they organize a 2-day, 3-day conference. They will spend 5 lakhs. The remaining about 6 to 7 lakhs, they go away with the money. Their intention is to make money and disappear overnight. So UGC has already clearly stated that any faculty member or any researcher who publishes a research article in predatory journal or who takes part in any of the predatory conferences, that should not be considered for selection, promotion, career advancement, and scholarship. That will not be considered. Predatory journals are also there. So most of these journals are online journals. If you contribute your research paper to that journal, they see that your article is published. Most of these publishers do not belong to your discipline. They just collect your article without any correction, grammatical correction or spelling correction. They publish your article immediately as soon as you credit the money, as soon as you send the money. All these journals come under predatory journal, which means publishing the research papers just for the sake of money, and they disappear after 2 or 3 years after making money. No harm. Experiment and research should not be harmful to environment, society, and respondents. Confidentiality has to be maintained. If you are collecting data from respondents, you have to maintain the confidentiality of those respondents. Whistleblower. If you come across any research which is really harmful to environment, nothing but abuse of authorities, nothing but wastage of money, and that should be brought to the attention of the authorities. Now CARE, now it is not there. Consortium for Academic and Research Ethics, CARE means. So Pune University is entrusted with the responsibility of making the list of journals. Their intention is to avoid fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, and unethical treatment of subjects. So if you publish any research article in predatory journals or predatory conferences, it will not be considered for selection, promotion, academic career advancement, and scholarship. It is already there in the UGC notification. So you have to be very careful because in India, so many predatory journals are there. When compared to other countries, there are a number of predatory journals. So if you want to publish your articles, you have to be very careful. Most of these online journals are predatory journals. Plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Borrowing the ideas. No, don't forget. Borrowing not sentences, not paragraph. It is borrowing the ideas. So even if you write in your own words, If you borrow the idea, if somebody has already stated that idea, it is nothing but plagiarism. Now, if you are spelling out that particular idea, borrowing the ideas of others and presenting them as if they are my ideas without citing the source or without giving credit to the authors is plagiarism. In other words, to use another's works without acknowledgement, to commit literary theft, to present as original idea derived from an existing source, changing words but retaining the ideas without giving credit to the author amounts to plagiarism. Failing to quote or put quotation mark, that's also there. Stealing someone's ideas and later on telling lies. These are some of the ways of expressing plagiarism. Types of plagiarism: blatant plagiarism. If you are borrowing as it is from a particular single source, beyond 70%, it is treated as blatant plagiarism. Potluck paper, ideas taken from many sources. You keep 4 or 5 papers, 2 or 3 paragraphs from this paper, another 2 paragraph from that paper, another 1 paragraph from this paper. Then arrange all these paragraphs in a logical sequence. This amounts to potluck paper. Word switch, alter keywords and phrases. Even if you write in your own words, the software may not identify or highlight the source, but you are borrowing the ideas of others. Mosaic, paraphrase most of the papers. You are writing in your own language. You take the ideas and express in your own language. Even then it is treated as plagiarism. Self-stealing. If you have already published 1 year ago, 6 months ago, you are presenting it for the second time, that is self-plagiarism. Ghostwriter means writing on behalf of somebody. Usually they write for the sake of money or from some favor. Nobody said don't borrow. Nobody said you are not supposed to borrow the ideas or borrow the sentences or borrow the paragraph. You are free to borrow. If you want, you can borrow. But it should be within quotation mark. You can summarize, you can borrow, you can paraphrase, or if you want to copy as it is, you have to use quotation marks or you have to render citations. As soon as you use anti-plagiarism software, you scan with anti-plagiarism software, then you will be getting the report like this. I have already shown this particular slide. Left hand side is your doctoral thesis, left hand side. Right hand side is the source from where you have copied. On the top, it is indicating 50%. That is to say, 50% is your original idea you have written on your own. Then what about the remaining 50%? The remaining 50% you have copied from various sources. What are those sources? These are the sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the sources. Against these sources, they have indicated the percentage. Such an amount of content you have borrowed from those sources. 35% you have borrowed from source number 1. 4% from source number 2. 3% from source number 3. Like that, 50% you have borrowed. In the next stage, in another case, left hand side is your research article, right hand side is the source from where the researcher has copied. On the top, it is indicating 38%. That is to say, 62% is the originality the researcher has written. Another 30%, remaining 38% is copied from various sources. What are those sources? These are the sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Percentage of content you have borrowed. 3%, 3, 2, 2%, 1%, like that. In the next stage, it will allow you to compare side by side. It will allow you to compare. Side by side, you can compare. Left hand side is the manuscript, thesis. Right hand side is the source from where the researcher has copied. 3% of the content he has copied from this particular internet source. It is highlighted in red color. Only the heading is original here. The rest of the content he has copied from various sources. Another example, here the researcher has borrowed even the heading also. Latent plagiarism. These are the two paragraphs. These two paragraphs are highlighted in red color. Red color. So one cannot argue and defend this case. Very difficult to argue. Here is another case of plagiarism. Here what the researcher has done, he has put the first sentence as the last sentence as the first sentence. He has altered the sequence of sentences. But the software is able to identify even he has altered the sequence of sentences. Here we have used Urkund, Swedish anti-plagiarism software. Swedish software. Left hand side is the manuscript, right hand side is the source from where the author has copied. Blatant plagiarism, entire content he has copied. It is highlighted in yellow color. Who has to decide whether it is a plagiarized content or not? Librarians will facilitate access to the software. He will not sit in judgment. He will not sit in judgment. He will not sit in judgment. So who has to decide? The researcher and the guide. Together they have to decide whether it is a plagiarized content or not. If they want to retain, yes, they can retain. If they want to exclude, they can exclude the entire paragraph. Not so important, you can delete the paragraph. If it is very important, you have to render the citation. That's all, to avoid plagiarism. If you want to retain, you have to put a tick against the box. It will, the yellow content will get yellow color will get excluded. Here are two sentences. Carefully observe these two sentences. After the class, many students move towards the canteen or hostel for lunch. They go by walk on the road for about 10 to 15 minutes and reach the hostel. So if I copy this sentence, usually there will be no complaints. No core idea is there. Core idea is not at all there. If we copy the second sentence, survey depicts that 45.3% of the students are vegetarians and the rest 54% are non-vegetarians. Vegetarians rely upon the college hostel for lunch and the rest of the students take non-vegetarian food from the outside restaurant. If you copy the second sentence, second paragraph, usually there will be complaint because you are copying the research work done by somebody. There is a precise writing of percentage of students who rely upon hostel and outside hotel. Therefore, if you copy the second sentence, there is core idea. In the first paragraph, not core idea is there. People will not complain even if it is copied. No worry. All such paragraph will come under similar content. Here is another case. Left hand side is the manuscript of the researcher. Right hand side is the source from where he has copied. He has copied up to 65%. Only 35% is the originality. From source number 1 and source number 2, he has copied up to 58%. It is indicated. Similar content is highlighted here. Even if you cite the source, author, title, place of publication, publisher, and year of publication, it is highlighted. All such content will come under similar content. Please note that percentage of plagiarism allowed is 0. Most of the researchers are under the opinion that 30% of plagiarized content is allowed by the university. No, it is literary theft. Theft will not be allowed by the university. Similar content, not plagiarized content. Now, percentage of plagiarized content allowed is 0. Not even a sentence is allowed. Similar content, even if you cite the source, here and there, not so important. Those sentences, lines will appear here and there. For that, there is provision up to 30% in Mysore University, 10% in other universities, 25% in Vishweshwarya Technological University. Similar content is highlighted here. Now, during 2014, 15, 16, Mysore University used Turnitin and Authenticate, most authoritative anti-plagiarism software packages from United States of America. All the three are from the same company, iParadigms, California, USA. After 2016, we relied upon Urkund, Swedish software. 2017 to 2021. From 2021 to 24, we relied upon original software, combination of Urkund and Blackscan of Germany. 24, middle of 24 till now, we are dependent on Drillbit. A Bangalore-based company has come out with anti-plagiarism software. They have not purchased ebooks, e-journals and conference proceedings. What is freely available on the web, it will cover for books and journals. So entire Shodhganga database is linked to Drillbit. If you copy any thesis submitted to any of the universities in India, it will get highlighted because as of today, 6,60,000 theses are on Shodhganga database. So Drillbit will facilitate scanning of Kannada regional language thesis, Malayalam thesis, Urdu, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi thesis are also covered by Drillbit anti-plagiarism software. It will be covering like this. Report will be like this. Now, I already explained name of left-hand side, name of the researcher, title of the thesis, name of the researcher, name of the research guide, language of the thesis, quality of the English, whether there are grammatical mistakes, whether there are spelling mistakes, to what extent the quality is ascertained. You see in thesis number 1 and 2, it is up to 64-65%. So what percentage the researcher has generated using AI text, AI software. Using AI software, the content generated is highlighted by the anti-plagiarism software. Here and see, you see, this is number 3. 38% of the content is AI generated text. Fourth one, 16%. Fifth one, 14%. Seventh one, 6%. So content generated by artificial intelligence sites. Then percentage of similarity content, then submit date of submission, then action. So this is the report generated by Drillbit anti-plagiarism software package. Turnitin and Authenticate are American software packages, most authoritative one. Urkund is a Swedish software. Original is nothing but combination of Urkund and Blackscan of Germany. And Drillbit is from Bangalore-based company. Now UGC is promoting Drillbit for all universities. The report will be like this. Even if the quoted content is beyond 15%, it will be highlighted in red color. Here you can see the red triangle where the quoted content is beyond 15%. How to overcome plagiarism? There are 2 alternatives. One, if the paragraph is not so important, you exclude the paragraph, delete the paragraph. One alternative. If it is so important, you want to retain the paragraph, render the citation, render the references. That's all. So you have to follow a referencing style. Don't forget this one. You have to follow a referencing style, very important one. At the time of Viva OC, a student may ask you which referencing style you have followed in your thesis. Sometimes students will not be answering this question. Then the audience will be turned towards the guide expecting him to answer. So we have to be very careful. You should be aware of referencing styles. These are the referencing style. American Psychological Association. Social science students rely upon American API style of referencing. Modern Language Association, MLA. American mathematics student, Oxford system of referencing, literature students, Harvard system of reference similar to APS style, IEEE referencing style. Engineering students depend on IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. Vancouver referencing style, that is from Canada. British Standard referencing style. Follow journals request citation. There is difference between bibliography and references. We have come across many theses where the researchers have used the word bibliographical references. No, either it has to be bibliography or references. Bibliography means a list of sources consulted. You have read the book, but no content you have borrowed. All such sources will come under bibliography. References means you have taken a statistical table, you have taken a definition. For having taken the content, you are going to cite the references. All such sources come under immediately after the chapter. References means list of sources referred. Bibliography means list of sources consulted or read. You have not taken any information. So there are ref managers, reference managers, software packages. If you throw the bibliography details, it will arrange according to the selected pattern, whether it is APS style or Harvard system of referencing or ML handbook or Chicago style manual. It will arrange according to the selected pattern. What are the software packages? EndNote. EndNote is the product of Clarivate Analytics. Mendeley is the product of Elsevier. Zotero is an open source free software. Papers is the product of Springer. Like that, there are number of reference managers, software packages which will arrange the bibliographic items or the references in a systematic order according to the selected pattern. Why do scholars plagiarize? The main reason is poor expression, lack of command over English language, especially while writing an introduction and review of literature. What are all the important anti-plagiarism software used throughout the world? The first three, Authenticate, Turnitin, Write-Check, all the three are from the same company, HyperD, California. Viper is an open source software. FlagAware, Germany, FlagScan, Germany, Urkund, Swedish software we were using between 2017 and 2021. Dokolok, Germany, Plagiarism Checker from New York, USA, Flag Tracker, original software, combination of Urkund and FlagScan of Germany. Then Drillbit, 12th one from Bangalore-based company. So Authenticate is the most authoritative and reliable software because the coverage is up to 7,500 crore pages, very huge database, which will verify within 15 minutes and gives the report. So you see the number of journals covered, 1,15,000 journals covered. They have purchased 1,15,000 journals. No other anti-plagiarism software companies have purchased journals to that extent. So therefore, it is very authoritative. This software supports not only English language research article and thesis, but also Chinese, Japanese, French, German, Italian, Swedish, Greek, Russian, etc. Then what are the sources covered for plagiarism check? Internet sources, cross-check conference papers, seminar papers, report of research paper, then journal articles, e-books, periodical, institutional repository means what is there in that institution as dissertation, thesis, and like that, etc. These are the sources covered by software or verified by the software before projecting the percentage of similar content. Please note that software will not identify graphics, photographs, images. It will highlight only the textual information. Textual information will be highlighted by the software. It will not highlight photographs, images, and graphs. Exclusion. If you want to exclude the entire chapter, there is provision. You can exclude bibliography, you can exclude introductory chapter, you can exclude review of literature, or you can exclude methodology. In Mysore University, few years back, we received a complaint from Central Sericulture Research Board stating that your researcher has copied my methodology, which is a patented document. He is not supposed to copy the patent. He has tried not only to copy my patent, but also misinterpreted my patent. Since then, we have started including the methodology and introductory part as well. So researchers are expected to submit from introduction to conclusion, including references and bibliography, excluding appendix part and excluding preliminary pages like a preface, table of contents, then list of charts, abbreviations, acknowledgement, etc. may be excluded. Under appendix part, you can exclude glossary of terms, questionnaire, schedule, etc. may be excluded. There is difference between similar content and plagiarized content. Plagiarized content you have borrowed without citation. Similar content, even though you have cited, it will appear here and there, and it will not be a very vital core idea is not at all there in those sentences. So repercussions of software. All right. What happens if I copy up to 60% or 70%? What has happened to other people so far? Nothing has happened. So repercussions of software. Immediate failure of research, retraction of research paper, withdrawal of research paper, blacklisting of scientists, subject of discussion in forums, punishable in the court of law, value of research is questionable. This is a case of Defense Minister of Germany, Gutenberg. He submitted doctoral thesis to Bayreuth University for PhD degree, but unfortunately he had copied 66 paragraphs from student dissertations. Finally, 17,000 students wrote complaint to the German Chancellor. Finally, the thesis was withdrawn. The PhD degree was also withdrawn. So repercussion, loss of job, revoked PhD, lawsuits, questioned integrity, damage to reputation, brand name, retraction, talent loss, and resource loss. These are the repercussions of plagiarism. Case number 2, German Education Minister Schaven. She wanted to submit doctoral thesis. Yes, she submitted the thesis. Unfortunately, there was plagiarized content. So the university withdrew the thesis and also the degree. She approached the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. He said, if you want to defend your case, you can go to the court of law. Case number 3, Mexico President Anna Penna Nita. He also submitted a thesis. There was plagiarism scandal against him. You see how he wants to defend. He says, don't worry, it is not plagiarized content. Don't say it is plagiarism. It is only a style error. And secondly, what I have copied is not the recent one. It is very old, 25 years old. So this cannot be accepted. This is a case of research misconduct. Anil Patti from Duke University published many articles in prestigious journal, Nature Medicine, Lancet Oncology, Blood and Plasma. But biggest medical research part, cooked up data, false data. So no repercussion. So if there is any plagiarized content, false data, fictitious data, especially in the field of medicine and pharmacology, it is not going to have any effect on patient. Very dangerous one. So South California Medical Board website list 40 as suspended and then recants. Case of Deris Tappel from Tilburg University. Out of 20 years of fake research, published 55 research papers, guided 11 students for doctoral thesis, got huge fund for research. Tilburg University suspended Staple for misconduct. So Derek Staple, from Tilburg University, the fraud who fooled almost everyone A case of plagiarism from Andhra Pradesh University. Plagiarizing almost 70 research papers between 2004 and 2007. Paper published in Elsevier Journal, Talenta, Science Direct, Analytica Chemicact and others. Starting from abstract and introduction, including methods of synthesis, spectroscopic data, results, discussion covering polarographic data, cyclic volatometric data, and the conclusion. Everything has been lifted from Goddard's original paper. Professor mentioned advanced instrumentation, not at all there in that university. But ultimately, he wanted to throw the blame on the student. You have to be very careful. One of the colleges here, they conducted interview for the post of assistant professor. The principal was the chairman of the selection committee. One of the candidates appeared for the interview. The principal said, "What is your topic of research?" The candidate replied, "My topic of research is this." The principal was annoyed. How come he is telling my topic of research? So suddenly he said, "Have you brought the copy of the thesis?" The candidate said, "Yes, sir, I have brought the copy of the thesis." He said, "You please hand over to me. Let me go through your thesis." He handed over the thesis. Same table, same data, same interpretation, and same conclusion. So he said, "You leave the thesis with me and you can collect in the evening." Finally, after 1 week, he discussed with his colleagues and wrote a complaint to the university stating that this student has plagiarized the content of my research work. As per the Gazette notification, the university formulated a committee to investigate the case. The guide was also summoned. The guide said, as far as the thesis, quality of the thesis is concerned, there is no problem. As far as the content of the thesis is concerned, there is no problem. It is a very good thesis. But a student never told me that he copied from this particular thesis. I was totally kept in darkness. The guide escaped. The student was caught. This was it. There are a number of cases like this. Craig Grimm's National Institute of Health and Advanced Research, Pennsylvania. Measurement of gases in patients' blood, but clinical trials were never performed and the funds were misappropriated largely for the personal use. He faced 35 years of imprisonment and a fine of $750,000. Scott Ribbon, anesthesiologist, fabricated 21 paper. Fabrication means cooked up data, false data. Deepak Das, Director Cardiovascular Research Center from Connecticut University, out of frustration and tension, suffered a stroke and died at the age of 67 because of plagiarism scandal. Surya, Rio de Janeiro-based Surya, dedicated to take up pen after 22 years of practicing law, published more than 30 works, some of the best-selling books, but there were no references, no bibliography. This case, you must be familiar with this case. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. There was a complaint against her regarding plagiarism. Story of a ghost. This was in the court of law. The judge said, ghosts appear suddenly, ghosts disappear suddenly, ghosts make noise. This is common to all the stories of ghosts. Therefore, your contention cannot be accepted. The case was acquitted by the court. Case of Matthew Whitaker, professor from Arizona State University. He published a book, lot of plagiarized content. He was awarded 268,000 contract by Phoenix Police Department to provide training. He prepared 84 slides. Out of 84 slides, he copied 52 slides from Chicago Police Department. Kavya Vishwanathan in the field of literature. She borrowed content from earlier published literary books published 100 years ago, but the publisher Litter Brown, they were able to trace the content. Professor Tribe and Olgotry, they have published number of books in the field of law, but no references, no bibliography. Please note that if you write any research article or if you write any book or report, please note that there should be references and bibliography. References and bibliography is very important. This is a case of South Korea universities. 179 professors are facing criminal charges. What they have done? They have taken 38 American textbooks. They have removed the outer cover page. They have replaced the outer cover page with their names and circulated among the students of the campus. Now they are facing the criminal charges. Except the cover page, the entire content is retained. They have replaced the cover page with their names. In case of doctoral thesis, similar content is expected. Similar content is expected in introduction, review of literature, methods and material. About the institution, it is expected. Usually people will not complain against this. But core chapters, analysis and interpretation of data, testing hypothesis, findings and conclusion, recommendation, further scope of research, conclusion. Similar content is not expected in these core chapters. If there is any similar content or paragraph copied from thesis, definitely it is plagiarized content. Here anyway, your data, you are interpreting the data, you are writing the conclusion, you are writing the recommendation. So it should be original. Even in research article, except introduction and definition, methodology, rest of the portion has to be original. Now the bulk of the thesis has drastically come down. Earlier it used to be 200 to 300 pages. Now it has drastically come down to 120 pages to 170 pages. Nobody is writing introduction beyond 15-20 pages. Nobody is writing review of literature beyond 20-25 pages. If you write review of literature, 100 pages of review of literature, definitely similar content will be beyond 50%. Recently, one of the management research student came to us. He kept a thesis of 730 pages on the desk of the librarian. He expected the librarian to comment on the thesis. He said it is neatly bound using providing French joint and gold embossing and all that. And definitely after plagiarism check, similar content will be beyond 50%. We scanned using Authenticate anti-plagiarism software. It indicated 70%, 73% of similar content. He went back, returned after 3 months. Same thesis brought down to 160 pages, 130 pages. 730 pages brought down to 130 pages. So you cannot write 700 pages. Interpretation of data, findings, recommendation, conclusion. No, it cannot be 700 pages. You are not writing a book. You are focusing on the research problem. Content for submission from introduction to conclusion, including references and bibliography. You have to write, UGC expect you to write your contribution. If somebody has explained beautifully in 20 pages, there is no need of bringing all those 20 pages into your thesis. So you and your guide, both of them are putting the signature below the sentence. Adequate measures have been taken to ensure originality of the research output. You are signing. Librarian will just forward the certificate to the registrar. Then if the content, similar content is beyond the expected percentage, you have to revise and resubmit. It is not a fault finding mission. It is a fact finding exercise. Software will help you to identify the original quotation. It will help you to know the original citation, all authors, year of publication, place of publication, joint author, every detail you will be getting. The software will fetch you the exact quotation and the exact citations. You can avoid plagiarism Accidental plagiarism, if it is there, you can avoid. You can trace the original content, reduce percentage of similar content, improve originality of research. So UGC says 10% of the content is allowed, not beyond 10%. Some of the universities are allowing 20% for preliminary chapters, 10% for core chapters, and VTU 25% in all, Mysore University 30% in all. Like that, one university, one similar content they are following. In most of the cases, 25% for science disciplines, 35% for arts and humanities disciplines, social sciences and humanities disciplines. So UGC stipulation is 10%. Similar content allowed is only up to 10%. For repeated plagiarism scandal, according to the UGC, the increment of the guide should be withheld. For repeated plagiarism cases, the increment of the guide should be withheld. How to overcome plagiarism? Overcoming plagiarism, one is do not take the sentences as it is. You paraphrase the sentence. If the content is in 2 pages or 3 pages, do not put quotation mark for the entire paragraph or the entire pages. You write in your own language and render references. Citing is very important. If you take the content, you should render references. Then quotation, if you want to take the sentences as it is, it should be within quotation mark as shown in the slide. Citing your own source. If you have already written 2 or 3 articles 6 months ago, 1 year ago, you should render citation to indicate that you already published 6 months ago, 1 year ago. Some of these sentences, some of the statistical tables, if you have already published, that should be brought under references. Referencing is very important. Uniformity and consistency should be followed. Secondly, you should stick to a particular referencing style. Very important. You should be aware of referencing style. Very important. Harvard system of referencing, Oxford system of referencing, or MLA handbook, Chicago style manual, APA style, IEEE style, Vancouver style, like that. So thank you. If you have any questions or if you need clarification on any of the issues, you can ask, please.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh.
Sir, you said about H index, right, in the publication.
Ah.
What is the meaning of I-10 index?
Very good. There are number of ways to measure the research performance. Usually, universities, they go by H index. I index means you have, imagine that you have published 200 research papers or 100 research papers published. Out of 100 research papers, how many of our articles